Hello, I'm Grant, and welcome back to Phrasal Verb News, where we use real news stories to teach you phrasal verbs and idioms in context. First, I'll explain the story in English and then break down today's expressions with examples. Y, como siempre, voy a dar la traducción al español y un ejemplo para que quede más claro. Let's get started. Today's story is about something that affects global trade, online shopping, and maybe even your next package. The end of the US de minimis rule. At the moment, packages worth less than $800 can enter the US duty-free. So no tariffs, no complicated paperwork, and this rule was called the de minimis rule, which is Latin for too small to matter. In other words, the government didn't bother charging tariffs on small shipments, like a $20 t-shirt that you got online. But now, all that is about to change. President Trump just signed an executive order ending the de minimis exception for all countries, and it takes effect August 29th. So this upcoming Friday. That means millions of packages from foreign retailers will suddenly face new tariffs, new paperwork, and lots of delays. European shippers say they are boxed in by the change. DHL, La Poste in France, Correos in Spain, and even Royal Mail in the UK have announced they will press pause on some shipments to the US until they can figure out how this is supposed to work. Interestingly, the main problem here isn't the money or the taxes. The bigger issue is logistics. They need to know the details, like who collects the tariffs, what information needs to be provided, how do you transmit that data to US Customs, and things like this. Companies say they can't guarantee reliable service until they sort this out or find a solution, which could take just a few days or perhaps longer. Meanwhile, the White House has called the de minimis exception a catastrophic loophole, saying it let unsafe products and even drugs slip in with little inspection. Critics argue the change could backfire by raising costs for ordinary online shoppers and creating an administrative nightmare for shippers. Let's move on to the vocab. And remember, I'll give you some examples and ask you a question involving each word. So if you can, please try to answer the question as soon as you hear it. That way you can practice the word immediately and actually remember it. So let's get started. Our first word is boxed in. This means to feel trapped with no good options, and I included it here because it's kind of a play on words. So shipping companies ship everything in boxes, so to feel boxed in is a bit ironic for a shipping company. For example, shippers feel boxed in by the new tariff rules. I felt boxed in by the client's strict standards. En español es como acorralado o sin salida. Por ejemplo, las empresas se sintieron acorraladas por las nuevas regulaciones. And a question. Have you ever felt boxed in by your boss's expectations? Next, we have sort out. This means to organize or resolve a problem. For example, companies are trying to sort out new customs systems. We need to sort out the budget before next quarter. En español es como resolver. Por ejemplo, tenemos que resolver los detalles del contrato. And the question, what's something you had to sort out at work recently? Next, we have press pause. This just means to temporarily stop something, like when you're watching a video and you press pause. DHL pressed pause on US-bound parcels. The company pressed pause on hiring until the economy improved. En español es poner en pausa o suspender. Por ejemplo, decidieron poner en pausa el proyecto hasta tener más información. And a question. What's something that you press pause on in your life? Next, we have take effect. This is when a rule, law, or change officially begins. For example, the new tariff rules take effect on August 29th. The new vacation policy will take effect next year. En español es entrar en vigor. Por ejemplo, la nueva ley entra en vigor la próxima semana. And the question, can you think of a rule that recently took effect at your workplace? And lastly, we have loophole. Now, this is kind of a small hole or mistake in a law that allows people to avoid following it. For example, the White House called the de minimis a catastrophic loophole. The company used a tax loophole to avoid paying millions. En español es como un vacío legal, un resquicio legal, algo así. Por ejemplo, encontraron un vacío legal para evitar los impuestos. So, do you think companies should be allowed to use legal loopholes? Yes or no, and why? So, in conclusion, European shippers are boxed in by new tariff rules. Companies have pressed pause on deliveries while they sort out the details, and everything changes when the new rules take effect at the end of the month. Supporters say it protects American industry, while critics warn it could backfire and make life harder for ordinary consumers. So that's all for today's episode of Phrasal Verb News. Muchas gracias por escuchar. I'm Grant, and don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or YouTube so you don't miss tomorrow's episode. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.